Hello and welcome to this video about the Kinetic data platform. My name is Derick Larson, and in this video we're going to be talking about creating a very basic tree. So here we have our services portal. We're going to bail out of that as quickly as possible and start with our global workflow. Now there's three different ways to create trees. We're only going to talk about one of them in this video. The other two were covered in the accompanying article. The first is to import a tree. Trees are always saved as XML, and you can import and export trees perhaps from a different environment like QA to prod if you would like. Second way is to clone an existing tree. So we've got a clone option for each tree, where if you want to copy the existing workflow and just make changes. And then the third way, what we'll cover in this video, is to create a tree from scratch or create a new tree. Now our tree is going to be connected up to our cleaning request form from earlier videos. So the first thing we need to do is decide where is the data for this tree, or the input or the source, coming from. In our case, it's going to be Kinetic request CE. That's going to drive this next two choices, source, group, and name. They're somewhat generic because we have to cover a bunch of different sources. But in our case, for source group, we need to define down to our cleaning request form. So we need to scroll through the different options here. We have data store forms or submissions or other forms. We want to get down to submissions, and then down, the next option is down into the services cap. And then of course the last thing is to get to our cleaning request form. So there's the format of those three areas separated with greater than symbols. And then the name, in our case, or for the request CE source, I should say, is going to be the action that drives this. And so when a cleaning request is submitted, this tree will be called by the application via a webhook. A couple other pieces of information here. We've got a status active. Be careful with that. As soon as you save this and put some stuff on it, active means it's going to work right away. Inactive is oftentimes used to archive a tree, or maybe to take it out of action and make some changes. And then of course paused is oftentimes used if you have a handler that you know is not going to work for a time. Say it connects to an external source that is down for maintenance. You can pause your tree and that'll stop any errors from being generated. And then if the process owner email is used for whenever there is an error in your tree, we will send, or the system will send, an email to whatever email address is listed here in the process owner email field. Of course, we've got some notes. Here's how you can delete your tree if you need to later on, and then we're going to create the workflow here. So we've got the basics of the tree created. You could make some changes in here if you need, but we want to get right to the builder. So here in the builder, we can see that we've got a start node. Everybody gets a place to start for free, and we can have many places to end, but you always start in one spot. There's a couple of options here for the tree itself to view a larger or smaller. There's a key to some of the nodes that we'll have available, so you can look at those. You can search nodes from here. The same actions list is available here. And then of course the most important button is the save button right here. So let's start by adding a new node to our tree. The way you do that is looking at the node that's going to come before that. We only have the start node here, so we're going to start there. Clicking on the plus sign will look to you to create the next node in line in your tree. In our case, we're sending an email message back to the submitter to say, hey, we got your submission. So let's start by searching the word email, and that'll narrow down the list of handlers or tasks that we could use. And we're just going to use the most basic SMTP email send right here. So we start with giving our node a friendly name. We'll just make this pretty straightforward with send email. We're not going to worry about the connector right now. We'll add a little bit onto that later in the video. So we'll go to our next screen, and this is the meat of it. For any handler is normally going to have some parameters or inputs that it takes, and that's what we've got here. Now I've got a couple of different options for the parameters. The first could just be static text. So all of our emails from KinOps are always sent from Wally at kinops.io. So we can just type in static text, no problem with that. Not very exciting, but very functional. Now here we can get into a little bit more fun with parameters. In this case, we want to send it back to the person that submitted the request. Now we know we collected their email, so let's grab that from the inputs to this tree. We can do that using this less than / greater than icon, or you can type a $sign bring up the same kind of thing. And here we can see all of the different types of information that were sent with that input to the form through the source. In our case, and in most cases, I would say, what we really want are the values or the answers to the questions that are on our form. And in this case, I want to get the email address, which is way down here at the bottom. So we'll grab the email address. So what the system is really doing, it's saying, okay, I've got some specialized tags, herb tags here at the beginning and end of our variable. That's going to tell the system, hey, there's something in here that needs to be replaced. It's going to ask, okay, well, what area should I go to? When we're saying at values, it could have been, at submission or at events, different things that are there. So specifically within at values, what do you want me to get? And we're saying, okay, get the answer to the email question. So that's kind of the format that's done here. So those are two great options, and the last one is a combination of them. So for the subject line, I want to say, request submitted by, and then have the person's name. So I can just type in, let's see, submitted by, and then add in the name. So once again, I go over here to variables, grab my value, get the name, and that's going to be all I need to do. This, you don't need to use plus signs or double quotes around things. Just have this piece right here. And so let's update and I'm just going to cheat a little here because no one wants to watch or listen to me type. And then we'll just put the same thing in the alternate body text. And that's it. Click on finish. And I've got my node here. I can see it's been automatically added to my tree after the node where I clicked on start. I've got automatically a connector added to it, and I'm going to hit save, and I'm ready to go. Now, one other thing I want to show real quickly is that you can put a qualification on these connectors. It's really, really valuable within a tree. Gives you a lot of different functionality to go down different branches, as we say. So you just click on the little funnel here. That'll open up this dialog. I can give my connector a label. If you put a qualification on a connector, you should always give it a label to help people understand what's going on. And then in here, you can think of the condition very similar to our display or validation conditions that we used earlier. And I just want to say if the site is equal to Minneapolis, or if that is true, I'm going to go down this connector. If it's not true, I won't. Very straightforward to do that. Once again, I'm going to come back in my variables. This time under values, I want to get the site. And if it's equal to Minneapolis, that's it. So now I've got a qualification on my node, and if I want to see again what's inside of here, say I'm troubleshooting somebody else's tree, you just click on the node and it comes right up to all the parameters so you can see what's there. There's a few other bits of information here. If you wanted to change any of that, if you want to get a link to this SMTP, it takes you back into the system and so forth. So, and since we made a change, I want to save, and that's it. I've got my basic tree created. So thanks for listening, and I hope we'll see you in the next video.